Several years ago, I wrote a poem about the coming forth of the Book of Mormon, and the poem is entitled Cumorah. I would now like to read that poem to you. Number 1, Cumorah's sun more brightly shone, the earth more radiant seemed, the springtime air with freshness sown, a special beauty gleamed. The awakening cock and forest bird in zest announced the dawn. Alert, expectant nature stirred that special April morn. 2, from out the bounds of mortal pales, unknown to earthly arts, a peaceful guiding spirit hailed a searching boyhood heart. For long his prompting voice had drawn that clear perceptive mind, impelled that very special dawn, eternal truths to find. 3, emerging through the open door, a tousle-headed youth, the burden of a summons bore to seek the source of truth. His visage showed the solemn cast of a long and restless night. His jaw and resolution cast all errors to indict. 4, his feet in measured metal trod a worn familiar way, toward the beckoning forest sod, 'neath emerald oaken sprays. Alone he pressed into the woods, toward the hallowed strand, and in that sanctuary stood on the verdant temple grand. 5, reverently his bended knee pressed to the softened mold, while nature's sacred psalmody his senses did unfold. Pausing at that first essay to speak a vocal prayer, the Spirit's voice his fear allayed, his boyhood burdens shared. 6, Father, his faltering words began to voice a searching plea, when Satan, evil's guardian, struck relentlessly. How could that young and guileless boy, that growing, budding seer, have known that morning's episode would threaten Satan's sphere? 7, how can the impudence of youth my monarchy destroy? I cannot let him learn the truth and teach eternal joy. Darkness is the medium by which my power is held. By ignorance hope is overcome, and blind obedience compelled. 8, this young intruder I must slay, his character defraud. His hopes and prayers in disarray will thwart the works of God. The earth's my kingdom, I will reign, my glory men will laud, and rank above the heavens I'll gain, above the throne of God. 9, the fear of doom upon him fell. His faith with trembling vied. In dread he felt the depths of hell, with Satan's legions nigh. Devastation wrenched his soul, oblivion cast its pall. A darkened abyss o'er him stole, surrender threatened all. 10, help me to his Father pled. My tongue is tightly bound. My soul is filled with utter dread, my voice can make no sound. I fear the darkness over me that blanks the morning sky. Surely thou canst set me free, else I fear that I must die. 11, as desperately he spoke that inward prayer, that faith-filled boyhood plea, the power which had his soul ensnared, in terror itself did flee. Lying on the leafy ground where struggle had left him prone, Tranquility did his soul surround, a spring sun upon him shone. As Jesus in the wastelands strove to quell the tempter's lures, so Joseph in the shaded grove Satan's tactics did endure. The former strengthened, thus was named the spotless Son of God. The last prevailing was to claim an ordained prophet's rod. 13. Returning to his signal prayer, his simple faith restored, in reverent voice his words declared, his youthful soul implored to solve midst mortal vanity the mystery of God, and learn from living deity the path which man must trod. 14. Upon that supplicating boy who sought with faith unchecked the secrets of eternal joy, God looked with great respect. As with an ancient steadfast seer, the Lord could not withhold from Joseph's eyes through faith sincere his person to behold. 16. Emblazoned in a glorious light, the Father and the Son descended from celestial heights their errand to perform. And before that young distinctive child, that new prophetic heir, in their kind respectful style, spoke answers to his prayers. 15. Restless in her morning bed, prelude to the day, unaware that sacred footsteps tread on nearby forest clay. Oblivious that in the morning's light a mantle had been spread upon a boy she'd kissed good night, who at her breast had fed. 17. Sweet Hannah, or blessed Jacob, dost thou not know the joy which would have Lucy's rapture fed, to have glimpsed her teenage boy, and to have known through prophecy the path his feet now trod toward his ordained destiny as he communed with God. A father also, this is 18, a father also unaware that ancients did permit him ever with his son to share a verse in Holy Writ. A prophet boy of Israel, a loyal, trusting fame, would bear with them while mortals dwell the same time-honored name. 19. Emerging from the sacredness of talks with deity, instructed in the nobleness of man's true destiny, alone in all the world he bore the extent of Satan's fraud. Through him alone had been restored the attributes of God. 20. Alone he must in patience face man and hill combined, amidst that callous blend erase the errors from men's minds. Alone he must new hurt endure, oppression and abuse, with past relationships ignored and bitter hatreds loosed. 21. No more to meet the morning sun with carefree childhood play, no more would glad untroubled fun the load of trial stay. Upon his boyhood shoulders weighed the charge of tidings given, his brow with lines of worry laid from his dialogue with heaven. 22. In measured contemplative step he walked the homeward course. His spirit with elation swept, his search had reached the source. He'd seen the Father and the Son. Their voices he had heard, their message his conviction won, his boyhood zeal they'd stirred. 23. But who will receive my testament? With whom may I confide the tidings of this great event to one with life untried? With whom may I in peace disclose the glory I have viewed and the future role for me proposed, which I must now pursue? 24. First, to those who daily share my credence and my love, surely they will help me bear this mandate from above. They surely my report will heed, this grand event believe, and sustain me as I daily plead this message to achieve. 25. Surely my earthly family, joined with holy ties, will hear my word with dignity, my claims they'll not deny. With them I'll share my humble charge, my new celestial call, and my future work they'll help discharge and latent snares forestall. 26. Encircled in familiar scenes, enriched by sacred bonds, the family group in peace convened to hear that youth respond. His glorious morning episode in meek but certain voice was spoken. Silent favor bode, their listening hearts rejoiced. 27. The Spirit who that boy had led, who oft his burdens shared, who from the very brink of death his soul alertly spared, that Spirit from the Father sent to succor a special youth, now to a family circle lent the witness of the truth. 28. Each felt the swelling quickened sigh, each sensed the tidings given, and in a modest voice of fine the endorsement gained from heaven. Each felt the weight of burdens placed on shoulders young and small, and each in meek admission faced a segment of that call. 29. None can describe the sweet accord within that circle felt. None understood the warmth that poured from where the Spirit dwelt. Yet each with certainty discerned the verity that God had once again to man returned, once more on earth had trod. 30. But not everyone who was to hear those precepts newly taught, truths by inspired men revered, by martyrs' offerings bought, could feel the inner witness speak in soft perceptive tones, evidence glorious to the meek, to righteous mortals known. 31. Resentment with the dawn awoke, intolerance and scorn over that young preceptor broke on wings of evil born. Neighbored fancied curious wrongs, old friendships found offense. Confidence the trials prolonged through haughty insolence. 32. Satan's works run parallel through all of mortal time. Those who eternal precepts tell will ever be maligned. The meek with tyranny distressed, while seers with threats are tried, new revelations are suppressed, new visions are decried. 33. But how could he in truth deny that which his eyes had seen? Could he their gracious frank reply in sincerity demean? For he his Father's voice had heard, his glory he'd beheld, that witness by his Spirit stirred, within his bosom dwelt. 34. His days and weeks moved slowly by, the months dragged into years. No message from the courts on high had touched his anxious ears. Yet ridicule his footsteps stalked upon his shoulders, scorned. In every conversation mocked, each act with patience borne. 35. Anxiety vexed his guileless thoughts. His expectations spurned. Had God his youthful failings caught? His his frailties discerned, had the careless boyhood acts, which may have marred his days, left him unworthy of the pact that was to him conveyed. But a wise, compassionate father heard those desperate youthful pleas, and saw within his searching heart an unusual dignity. And ere the coming night expire between the dusk and morn, a confirmation would transpire and the nagging question shorn. 37. Patience is a godlike virtue, used to strengthen man, and from the seasoned timber hew a vessel that will stand to meet the trials of life. Steadfast, the maturing youth remained, each test a stronger metal cast, each burden firmness gained. 38. A light more brilliant than the morn into his chambers shone, as a messenger from the Father born from a celestial throne. Tidings from primeval dust, an ancient nation's tale, whose swords have since succumbed to rust, their ancient cities paled. 39. Throughout the grave momentous night, while the passing moments flew, until the subtle morning's light from the fading shadows grew, enwrapped important dialogue, a prophet and a youth, of the plan to bring to a waiting world a fullness of the truth. 40. Patience again for 4 more years to season and mature, as he to every law adhered and steadiness ensured. For Satan desired to his trust to thwart, his calling to frustrate, through men with undiscerning hearts and actions reprobate. 41. Yearly to Cumorah's hill, that ancient library, once a primeval oracle. Let me begin again. 41. Yearly to Cumorah's hill, that ancient library, one a primeval oracle and one a seer to be. Beside the golden records spoke of matters yet to come, when truth could false beliefs revoke and ignorance overcome. 42. Striding from that wooded hill, alive with autumn's sheen, while the golden warbler's stirring trill a further rapture gleaned. Within his arms the precious plates claimed from their hoary crypt, to him the privilege to translate that priceless manuscript.